Hello and welcome to your trades the week ahead. This week really saw it all. A fresh 62.50 is the top and 2013 high. A fresh one at that is what we clocked, but only to completely peter down, finally closing in at 61.50 thereabouts in Friday's session.
Yeah, but I don't think too many people are complaining because it's an eventful week coming up. The expiry plus the policy plus tons of results. So lots to watch out for next week.
Oh yes, extremely earnings heavy as well this week. While the index managed to lose about 0.7% over the week, you had the gainers in the likes of an L&T, BOB, IDFC, Asian Paints, GAIL, PNB, all held out, as well as Sesa Sterlite. On the flip side, there was weakness coming in for BHEL, GSPL, Wipro, Hindalco, DLF, Ken India, as well as Bharti Airtel.
Let's get in Sandeep Wagle with his sense of the charts. Sandeep, good having you. Thanks for joining in. It's been a flattish performance this week, but expiry next week. What do the charts suggest?
Little bit of a correction is what I would say, but not much more than probably 50-70 points. And having said that, probably 6200, 6220 will act as a very strong resistance. So a range-bound session, so to say, 6100 to 6220-30 is that 120-130 point range I am looking at for the whole of the next week. And being expiry, I don't expect too many fireworks as well.
A quick one, Sandeep. Asian Paints on the charts at 513, 5 and 4.
It has already moved up. So if you talk of the little long-term talk of the next few weeks, the view still remains bullish. But a correction towards 500, 495, that range would be a better option to buy rather than buying it at 512, 513. In that sense, I'm not comfortable buying immediately, but nearer 490 with a stop loss of 470, I still have a view of 540, 550.
Sandeep, want to get you in on the Bank Nifty first. A, how would you go about trading that? And B, what's looking good for a buy at this point in time from the banking space?
Well, Aisha, the Bank Nifty is absolutely flat. I don't see 11,000 being crossed in a hurry. I don't see 10,800 being broken down on the downside. So in that sense, very difficult call to make. And there will be stock specific moves. I mean, I am still bullish on the Bank of Baroda, which is showing good traction. Now it is consolidating with the markets. And the moment it gets a clear move, you will have a 5-7-8% trading upside. UCO Bank, on the other hand, looks a little weak. So there will be stock specific moves within the banking space. And 10,800 and 11,000, 11,100 is the range for the Bank Nifty for the next few days at the least.
Sandeep, anything looking good for a trade, be it a Gitanjali or a Jubilant Life Sciences?
Aisha, Jubilant Life Sciences has actually moved up quite a bit, but still I am liking it. The weekly pattern, the monthly pattern is suggesting a lot of positivity. So in that sense, I am liking it. Don't take it as a trade for the next few days. Maybe you will be disappointed, or maybe take it on a decline to probably 98 to 95 in case it comes from a current level of 102. I would talk of a target of 130, 140, somewhere around that, and a stop loss of a little below 90 or probably a little below 85. So I would talk of a 20, 25, 30% upside over the next few weeks.
Deven Choksi is with us. Deven, lots of pharma names and difficult to gauge what these would do. But what would you watch out for from amongst Ranbaxy or a Reddy or a Lupin?
Well, I think, Neeraj, if one has to look at, I think among these three companies, I think the surprise could be coming out from the Ranbaxy. I think the Dr. Reddy and the Lupin are the known candidates. Probably I think they would come up with a performance on expected times. The surprise package could be coming out from the Ranbaxy side. And what could be those surprises, particularly I think on the efficiency side, I think one could possibly find some amount of pleasant surprises coming in from the Ranbaxy side. Now, how much can we quantify now a particular quarter, or one would like to, I think, review this entire improvement happening over next few quarters? I think that's something which we'll wait for the management committee to come out. But I certainly believe that I think the amount of efficiency, the cost of production, etc., I think that cost would probably come under control for Ranbaxy. So let's wait and see how they come out with the results.
Some other key couple of earnings as well slated to come next week, and telecom major Bharti would be one such case in point. And of course, you've got Maruti as well amongst the auto majors. Sandeep, what's looking like for the charts for Bharti as well as Maruti?
Well, I think Bharti will struggle to cross 360, Aisha. I don't see that happening too soon. On the downside, 330 will act as a very, very strong support as well. So 330 to 360 is what I would talk of the range of Bharti over the coming days or weeks. Now Maruti, if you talk of, I am quite bullish on this stock, but then with a little bit of a few weeks horizon, the stock has moved up quite well, and at the current level, I would talk of a range of 1480 to 1540. Once it takes out 1540, then we can talk of a level of 1590 to 1600, and this is a view for the next few weeks, I would say.
Deven, what would you do with the Maruti? It's probably not done as well as some of the others too, but it's no longer trading as those 1200, 1250 kind of levels. Around 1500 odd is where Maruti is trading. What do you expect the stock to do, and what do you expect the results to be like?
Well, considering the fact that I think we are in the third quarter of the financial year, and considering the fact that in this particular quarter, due to the festive demand, we are probably going to see more amount of offtake of vehicles coming up for Maruti. I would think that this particular quarter could be a little bit more favorable to Maruti. Having said that, I think for the month of September quarter, I think you probably would find that the numbers are likely to be more or less, I think, on predicted length. I'm not seeing, I think, too much of a variance coming up on the number side. Already we are having the, I think, the volume numbers in place. So obviously, I think the profit numbers are not going to vary, I think, very significantly. Of course, one item, I think, which I would like to probably, I think, keep an eye on, and that will be the currency behavior, and I think the kind of a cost that they would absorb on it. I'm not totally confident on that particular aspect, so one will have to watch out for this particular item in the result. Having said that, I think if one has to take a portfolio view on the stock, I would say that portfolio view on the stock could be probably deeper till the result is out. Because post-result, generally it is seen that I think the stock would react and do some kind of correction. During the fall or the correction, probably I think that would be the right time to buy, because currently the headroom in the particular, in this stock, given the valuation at which it is quoting, I think is probably a little less compared to, I think, what one would have bought it at somewhere around 1300, 1400 levels.
The credit policy come next week. Anirudh joins in with more details on what the street is expecting.
This policy review comes at a time when the RBI has made it clear that it wants to bring down the gap between the MSF rate and the repo rate back to the normal level, which is of course 100 basis points. So there are a couple of ways through which they can do it, but the general perception seems to be that the RBI is going to go ahead with a cut in the MSF rate, probably to the extent of 25 basis points, and also a hike in the repo rate, given the fact that inflation is quite high at this point of time. So that may be another hike of 25 basis points this time around. Remember that this is similar to what the RBI had done in the previous mid-quarter review. So clearly going forward, that could be the same kind of path that the governor takes this time around as well. But then again, it all depends on what kind of a view he does take on the evolving inflationary situation. There's also a kind of a view that expects that maybe the RBI may go ahead and actually bring down the MSF by 50 basis points, which could actually be good news as far as all the banks are concerned. Now, there are a number of people who also aren't ruling out the fact that the RBI may go ahead and actually increase further, limits as far as the bank's borrowings from overseas are concerned. They're also talking about how the RBI may look at increasing further FCNRB limits as far as banks are concerned to bring in more dollars. But clearly the expectation as far as the rates are concerned is basically a hike in the repo rate and a cut in the MSF rate.
Okay, we'll watch out for that, Anirudh. Deven, that will be the big trigger in addition to what happens in the expiry as well. But what do you expect the RBI to do, and how would it impact the market sentiment and the banks?
Only it is clearly, I think, that the RBI would probably, I think, try and attempt to roll back the MSF. They have very clearly indicated that I think they want to bring it closer to the repo rate as early as they can. And I think they are not afraid of, I think, doing the rollbacks, I think, even in between periods. Which means that I think, suppose if I had to assume that I think if they roll it back by 50 basis points now and balance, I think, in a subsequent period, I would probably, I think, say that I think they would address the situation of the bringing it, I think, closer to the repo rate. I personally feel that I think the repo rate hike may not take place at this point of time for two reasons. One, because of the good monsoon, the better crop availability, the agri-product prices are going to remain under control. And the second most important aspect is that the fuel oil prices are also likely to remain under control given the lower trajectory of the crude oil prices. So both this taking into account and understanding that I think the QE is deferred for the time being, and so is the debt ceiling. I think from US side, I think put together all of them, I would think that I think they may not venture into increasing the repo rate this point of time, but roll back, I think, the MSF in a staggered manner as they have been doing since last two policy reviews.
Okay, let's talk about what trades could you execute come Monday morning then. Sandeep, what's it that you would list out to our viewers?
Aisha, I would stick to the strength which some of the stocks which have displayed strength like a Dabur. I would buy a Dabur that has closed well in today's price action. I would buy it with a stop loss of 179 and a target of 188. And I would sell a United Spirits which displayed weakness with a stop loss of 2680, target of 2575.
Devin, very quickly, a stock recommendation from your end?
There are two companies, I think, which we basically like from individual investment point of view. One, of course, I think we like Jain Irrigation. The company is largely a beneficiary of the better monsoon and higher uptake of the micro irrigation system because of the growth, I think, which we are seeing in different crops at the same time. And the second company which we like in the portfolio is the IDFC. We believe that I think the stock is just a little above, I think, the price to book value, so the downside is limited. And more importantly, with the wholesale borrowing rate coming down, I would think that I think the IDFC would get re-rated in the situation along with, I think, infrastructure projects coming up. So these two stocks we find good for investment portfolio and accumulate at lower levels in a corrective market.
They've been good having you on the show. Sandeep, let you go as well on that note and wrap up this edition of Your Trades the week ahead. We'll catch you again with what seems to be an action-packed trading week up ahead on Monday morning.